Ka-chow!
This is something that I also get asked about a lot, which is what are some of the most commonly upsold items? Now, what the heck does it mean when something is upsold? Upsold means you went in for a service and the technician or service advisor sold you something else. So we're going to cover quite a few of those topics today, so stay tuned. There's a lot of good stuff in here. The first one we're going to talk about is our engine and cabin air filter, okay? Now, what is an engine and cabin air filter? First of all, our engine air filter protects the lungs of our car. So imagine that you are running a marathon and you now have to breathe through one nostril. That would basically be what it would be like if you had a dirty engine air filter and your car had to run that marathon every time you jump into it. So to find your engine air filter, you can follow the air into the car. So here we're actually looking at this like kind of, elephant's trunk here. We're following that and we're following it into this giant box that is going to house our engine air filter. Now for this engine air filter, we did need one 10mm tool. That is a pretty simple tool to take these two screws off. I do have a video on how to check and replace your engine air filter on pretty much all vehicles. So we're going to take this out. We're going to have a quick look at it. This side does not matter. This side does. Now this one is very clean, but you can still see quite a few little things in there that it's been protecting the lungs of our car from breathing. Okay, so we are going to put this back in. Now, it does not matter the state of this. If the technician does not show it to you, I would make sure that you have an idea if it needs to be replaced. This needs to be replaced usually once a year or once every other year. It really depends on your driving conditions. So if you're driving to the desert or somewhere dusty or through a butterfly storm, you need to be changing this much more often. Now, its partner is our cabin air filter, and that is also upsold pretty often. So let's go check that out. It is normally behind the glove box for every single Japanese and Korean car. So you're going to drop the glove box down. And the nice thing about this is we have our owner's manual. So if for any reason you were curious about how to do either of these yourself, you could look up air conditioning filter 250. Okay, so let's go to 250. Okay, so the air conditioning filter is labels placed inside of the glove box and has been shown as indicated. So there is going to be a label in here. The air conditioning filter is behind the glove box. Then we literally have step-by-step instructions and pictures on how to do this. So again, this owner's manual is your Bible to your car. If you do not have this, you can definitely Google that information because Google is also going to be your friend. So it wants us to push apart, and then that spreads these. And now we can get at our cabin air filter, which we just follow our directions that say up and push our two little tabs together. And then you want to make sure that you're following the airflow instructions. So see how it says up here? And actually, I have definitely seen worse. This one only has a couple like sticks and bugs in there. So your cabin air filter needs to be changed usually every other year. Again, if you're driving in severe conditions, or a lot of times if you're using your air conditioning a lot, there are ways to make this last longer. With your AC specifically, I do recommend that if you're a couple blocks before home, that you turn your AC off and you run fresh air through your car so that you can prevent mold. But yeah, if you're having any weird smells, or definitely if you carry animals in your car, it is a good idea to change your cabin air filter more often than that every other year. Now, both the cabin air filter and the engine air filter are parts that are readily available at your auto parts store. So you can go to your auto parts store, give them your license plate number. They'll be able to look up what kind of car you have and sell you an engine or cabin air filter. They do have different options. It's really up to you if you want to go as high grade as a HEPA filter or not. Let's talk about a few more things that are commonly upsold. So another major upsell is going to be tires and alignment. Now, how the heck do we know if we have decent tires? Number one, you could go to a trusted place and just ask them whether or not they could take a quick peek. Discount Tire, places like that, they will actually check your tires for free and tell you whether or not you're in good shape. Now, what you just saw here is what's called dry rot. If you live in a very dry, arid place like we do on the West Coast, that's a pretty common problem. If you're not driving your car that often, they can actually get dried out and start rotting from the sun, and you'll notice those little cracks. Now, what we want to check for as far as wear on the tires is, come on over here. So every tire has these tread wear indicators. Can you see those in there? Okay, those run all the way along the tire. Now this is literally a brand new tire. So the other thing you can do is if you don't have tread wear indicators, you can take Abraham Lincoln right here, okay? And you can flip him upside down. And if you can see his hair, then it is time to change those tires. So these are brand new, these are great tires. We definitely can't see his hair. Let's go try this on another car, okay? So we're gonna look at the tread wear indicators on this one. And again, they're actually in a really good spot here because they're all around the tire. So see that tread wear indicator there? Okay, we're gonna turn Abraham Lincoln upside down. Now again, we can't quite see his hair yet, but let me get my shadow out of the way. Can you see that? See how much closer we are to being able to see his hair right there? We're here, and right there is where we need to change the tires. Okay, so we are close because as soon as those tread wear indicators become flush with the rest of the tire, it's actually time to change. Now, how do you know if you need an alignment? Number one, if you're driving down the road and you want to test this on different types of roads, if you're driving down the road and you let go of the steering wheel and your car pulls very dramatically one way or the other, and you try it on different roads and it continues to do that, something is probably out with your alignment. The other thing you can tell is uneven tire wear. So your tire should be wearing evenly across the space. If for any reason you're getting cupping or feathering, or it's wearing on the inside or the outside in a weird way, that indicates that there's something usually going on with your suspension, and you should definitely either have that checked out or have an alignment done. It is also a good idea if you live in an amazing place like this where they have 800,000 potholes to have an alignment done. I would say at least every other year, or when you're getting your tire rotation once a year if you're really on top of it. The last tip I want to save you with is if you have to get one tire, a lot of times you actually have to replace both in pairs. And the reason that we do that is because the tread on one tire, so let's say that they're both worn at the same level, and now all of a sudden you get a new tire. Okay, now that tread is going to be so much taller that if they're uneven, it's actually going to pull one direction. Okay, so you want to make sure that if you have one tire that's so much different than the other tire, that you get two of the same tread worth of tires. So when you go to buy tires, we're always like, okay, well, what do I actually need? Like, do I need a performance tire? Do I need a mud and snow tire? It is a really good idea to chat with a tire professional or use an online tire program to have a better idea of what tires you need for noise, for your driving in your area, to make sure that you're saving the most money and also getting the best performance tire. Another thing that a mechanic often upsells is a battery. Now, a car battery could be made many different ways, and the reason they can upsell you is a couple different things. When they upsell you a nicer battery, it usually comes with a nicer warranty. So you want to make sure that when you're price matching batteries, whether you're at an auto parts store or Costco, or I guess maybe Amazon or online resellers, retailers, you want to make sure that you're checking how long that warranty is good for. I once bought a battery for my motorcycle. It didn't even last a year, and there was no warranty on it, so I was just SOL for $90. So this battery, car batteries are a lot more expensive nowadays. When you're looking at your 12-volt battery, you want to make sure that you're getting something with a decent warranty. Believe it or not, that right there is the transmission for this tiny little Honda Civic. Now, one of the biggest upsells is our transmission fluid flush. Now, what the heck does that even mean? So our transmission has fluid in it that keeps everything lubricated, just like the oil does for the engine. And occasionally it does need to be changed. Now, one of the biggest upsells is a full transmission fluid flush. Now, this is not a service that is done usually very regularly. What you need to be doing regularly is a transmission fluid drain and refill. Okay, so that means you take a couple quarts out and you put a couple quarts back in. You don't have to drain and flush the entire thing, usually. Now, if for some reason it's been a really long time and you've missed that 30 to 60,000 mile window or that 3 to 6 year window, then you might be due for a full flush. It is definitely a good idea to have a professional drain a bit of the fluid and test it, or look for obvious signs of needing to do a full flush before agreeing to do a full flush. It is a very expensive procedure because transmission fluid is very expensive. So I highly recommend that if a place is trying to upsell you on a full transmission fluid flush, that you ask a little bit more details about, did they test the fluid? Do they have an idea of when your last fluid was changed? And then make sure that you're staying on top of that, because if you have an automatic transmission, or nowadays a continuously variable transmission, a CVT transmission, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking care of that so that it lasts a long time. If you guys have questions about your specific vehicle or comments you want to share, make sure you leave them in the comments section and we'll get back to you.